Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am, of course, Toss Today from the Total OS Today channel, and with me is my usual Australian friend, IG Infinitely Galactic. I thought for tonight we would do something that we haven't done in a while, the news and nonsense report, and we would just be calling this the technology news and nonsense podcast, actually, not a report, 10P for short, I guess. So, IG, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Yourself?
I am hanging in there. We were just talking off camera, off mic. I had a rather rough weekend with the stomach virus, and somebody should come up with an app, for your smartphone, whatever, that somehow attaches to you and warns you ahead if you are eating some bad food, if you know what I mean. But anyway,
Yeah, that would be helpful. I think we would end a lot of the medical fields industry overnight if that was the case.
okay, fine, maybe not. But anyway, technology news and nonsense. IG, why don't you get us started?
All right. So there was an interesting news story that popped up on the interwebs lately, and that is that Microsoft is finally ending their Scroogled TV advertising campaign. Basically, the idea around this advertising campaign was to prompt users to use Microsoft's search engines and other internet solutions, targeting the fact that Google's products like Gmail or Google Search, Google Shopping, etc., is motivated by advertising and therefore is not too concerned about your privacy. And thus, when end users use Google's services, they end up getting Scroogled. So yeah.
Okay, I could see where that wouldn't last very long. Who was the brain that made up that little ad campaign, right? My goodness, Scroogled. It's the first time I had heard of that.
So Microsoft has issued a statement regarding the ad campaign, saying that it has sparked a dialogue that shows how much consumers care about their privacy and how strongly they feel about the fact that Google goes through their personal emails to sell ads. More than 3.5 million people visited Scroogled.com, which is a domain they set up for the ad campaign. And with over 114,000 signing a petition asking Google to stop going through their Gmail. While the ad portion of this phase of the consumer education campaign has finished its scheduled run, this important conversation about privacy continues, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the responses that I've gotten from this like
Yeah,
one of two things. Usually, either people are like, "Meh, I don't care,"
yeah,
Google. By the time Microsoft has products that can mirror Google's functionality, then I'll switch. But and then other people, of course, are like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Okay, but
right.
still, I don't think they're gonna get too far on it. But hey, cool mudslinging concept in my opinion.
Well, I do have some more jokes about that, but I can't say them because this is a family channel. Moving on.
Of course.
Yes, yes, sir. Okay, let's see. What do I have? Oh, yes, we spoke briefly last week about the upcoming Galaxy S4. Well, according to a report that I read today, the company's quote, next big thing has something to do with your eyeballs. You will be able to page scroll with your eyes. It's called eye tracking technology that turns your eyeballs into page scrollers. Now, that I think is pretty cool if it can actually work. I mean, this is Star Trek coming to life. This
It
is a,
literally is. I saw that news story as well, and I was thinking, wow, if they can pull that off with some level of success, my
yes.
goodness, where will we be next year?
What's next? What will be the next big thing 6 months from now? Or
We'll
I
we'll probably have like a magnetic system that goes between our forehead and probably our chest and maybe our palm, so that it'll magnetically hold the phone in front of us like a hover feature. So for complete hands-free use, we
yes.
have the phone just hovering in front of us, scroll with our eyes, and I don't know, select
Hmm.
with.
That's
There's
yeah.
any number of ways you could go about doing that, but
That actually sounds pretty cool if they can pull it off. Okay. Well, let's see. What else do I have? IG, are you in the market for a new car?
no, not at the moment. I gotta say.
Well, Lamborghini's having a not a sale, but they have a new car for sale. It was unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show for a very, I guess, reasonable $3.9 million. You can buy a new Lamborghini. Uh,
Suddenly I am in the market for a new car.
yes, yes. Well, this will do. Let's see. This will go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds with a top speed of 220 miles per hour. Now, IG, here's the thing. I don't know about Australia, but here in the States, we have speed traps, right? Okay.
Yes.
A car that goes from 0 to 62 is not going to do you much good when you have an officer around the bend. You need a car that goes from 62 miles per hour to 0 in 2.8 seconds to really make this worthwhile. If not, you will get your $1,000 speeding ticket. But
Very true. And I think the very fact that you're going to be driving down the road in a Lamborghini is probably going to be an automatic, hey, pull me over just because this car can go fast.
well, the car screams speed. So yes, if you, chances are, if you drive something like this, paying a hefty speeding ticket is probably not going to be an issue.
Yes, well, that is a good point. Unless you absolutely broke the bank on a Lamborghini,
Yes, unless
in
you
which
mortgage
case
the house or yeah, right,
you
yeah.
have more serious problems in your life.
Apparently so. What's up? What else do you have, IG?
Well, another interesting news story that cropped up was that Pirate Bay is moving some of their servers to North Korea, and
Oh,
I'm not sure. I mean, the headline is that it's probably more satire than fact. Obviously, Pirate Bay have been in and out of legal trouble for goodness knows how long. Having servers in Norway and in Spain, and getting different legal threats from different media companies over the last 3 years or so. But yeah, so now there's rumors that there's rumors that they might be relocating to North Korea, but then there's also plenty of good reasons to doubt that as well. But hey, rumor as far as a rumor goes, it's a fun one to have. But yeah,
but
as it'll be interesting to see how long Pirate Bay can keep up the run and dodge of the from the media companies.
if it's true, that is kind of an odd geographical location to pick, North Korea, especially with all that's been going in the news, with North Korea and I think they just tested an underground nuclear weapon, much to the chagrin of the powers that be. But that seems kind of odd. Absolutely. Hmm.
Very true. The other thing that kind of gets me about it, which is probably one of the good reasons that it's just hearsay, is that North Korea's internet by design is very limited. It's very firewalled, much like China.
Oh, yes.
And they have only just they're only just recently starting to roll out an international mobile wireless network specifically for tourists, so that tourists don't have to suffer the same filtering.
Ah,
But yeah, I mean, I think it comes from, at least this headline comes from a German programmer who traced back the hosting chain, of some of the pirate-based stuff to a location in North Korea. Yeah, and it was redirected. The traffic was then redirected
okay.
to an address in Cambodia.
Hmm.
But it's yeah interesting. But
Yeah.
I think it's just making a storm in a teacup.
Yeah. Possibly. All right, let's see. Well, I have one final piece of news, and this is my nonsense piece, although the one before sounded pretty nonsense too. But anyway, have you ever been on a cruise ship?
No, oh, I mean, at least not while it's cruising.
Okay, fair enough. I have not. They look like fun. They're big, they're modern, they're luxurious. But you may have heard the news about a month ago where one of the modern cruise ships, there was a fire in one of the engine rooms that was quickly extinguished by one of the emergency backup system sprinklers, or whatever you want to call it. But here's what I gather. The fire was quickly put out. Okay, the ship was not in any danger. But what happened after was that you had no air conditioning inside the rooms, you had no running toilets, and very little warm food. Now, if this is the purpose of an emergency backup system, I don't want it because you could have accomplished these things without this backup system. It seems to me that all modern cruise ships should have some kind of some kind of impulse power. Star Trek had the warp drive, the impulse power, thrusters, emergency
Right,
system.
right,
Not this is a cruise ship, so we're not talking, gravity control, life support. We're just talking bathrooms. You know what I mean? And
right.
well, I mean, if I was a passenger on the ship, I would be pretty upset to say the least. But what was the funniest thing of all, this multi-million dollar piece of engineering marvel had to be basically towed back to the port with what amounts to about a half a dozen tow trucks, or not tow trucks, tugboats. Sorry, I guess you,
Sure.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, yeah, the equivalent of tow trucks for sure.
right, right, right.
Okay, so basically they need a revision of their emergency handling system so that it doesn't just cripple the entire vessel. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, and I just read, I caught some, I caught an update. Apparently, there are a handful of very few cruise liners that have true emergency backup systems, meaning that if something happens, the fire will be extinguished. The ship will have some kind of propulsion, if not full power, maybe like one quarter impulse power. So say the ship does 20 knots. It
Hmm.
would be reasonable to say under life support, maybe the ship does only 5 knots, which is reasonable. But for the love of God, can we at least have toilets, running toilets? Wait,
Everybody, you're gonna have to hold it in. We have an emergency.
oh my goodness. Anyway, that was my last piece of news. What else do you
My
have?
my final story comes from the US, funnily enough.
Okay.
So I'm sure many of the listeners probably heard about this story, but President Obama he took quite a lot of criticism from sci-fi fans last week when he
Oh,
melded
yes.
together the Star Trek and Star Wars referencing, talking about a Jedi mind meld. And then obviously this has sparked quite a number of hashtag Obama sci-fi quotes in Twitter, and some of the best of these are some like one here that I'm reading. The needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many Bothans who died to bring us this information.
Mm.
And another one was, I find your lack of logic disturbing.
You know, I
So
heard,
obviously one of the flaws of if you're not an Obama supporter, one of the flaws that you will now use for the that you will now pitch against him along with any other flaws that you might have
right,
will
right.
be that he can't get his sci-fi universes right. But
Well,
uh,
just to be clear, I believe it's called let's see, Vulcan Mind Meld and Jedi Mind Trick. True? He
that's
got
correct.
okay,
Yes.
okay. So he was well, look, I'm sure there was many things on his mind, ruining I mean running the country. But
Right, right.
hey, I voted for the guy. I kind of like him, but what a mess here in Washington, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So.
This podcast could go from a short one to, yeah, a
Yes.
couple of hours at least.
Yeah, yeah. And if and on a final note, if somebody wants to look up the word sequester that happened here in Washington, look up the meaning of that and where that comes from. But then you'll understand why Washington is completely dysfunctional. IG, on that note, I have nothing else to say. What say you?
I am out of quotes as well.
Okay, well, folks, thank you for tuning in for this. I guess our very first 10P podcast, the Tech News and Nonsense podcast. Of course, we've done podcasts before under the Tosscast name, but this is something different, something just to have some fun. And this is actually was quite fun, and let's do it again sometime.
Indeed, we shall.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to check out the Infinitely Galactic channel on YouTube. Of course, myself, Total OS today. We will catch all of you sometime in the future. Bye bye.